Hello YouTube, this is Bowtied Media, and today I have another installment of This Friday in EDM. Today is June 12th, 2020, and we're going to talk about new electronic music that came out today or this week. If you don't know, I'm categorizing these songs into 4 categories. There is Don't Bother, Neutral, Good Listens, and Standouts of the Week. And spoiler alert, there are no standouts for this week. This week is actually pretty lackluster in terms of quality of songs. But let's get right into it. Up first for this week, and working our way from the bottom to the top, so this being the worst song of the week, is Bright Lights by NONSENS. And I often say that I flip-flop on artist tracks, but NONSENS is pretty much the pure epitome of that for me. And the songs are either super big hits or they're super bad. And this one is pretty bad for me. It feels like lifeless dubstep that is uninspired and just is boring. There's nothing really happening, and that's why it's the worst song of the week. Up next is Cloud 9 by Afrojack and Chico featuring Jeremih. I got into EDM because of Afrojack. Well, not solely Afrojack, but a lot of his influence, him and Daft Punk in particular. But this song is far from anything that Afrojack is produced in decently good quality. This thing just feels like a repetitive kind of pop tune. It's not even poppy. It just feels like it's, again, uninspired and lifeless, and there's just no inspiration from this track. There's just nothing there. Up next is Boogie Machine by Maurice West. And this song is so interesting. The few times I played it, it just tried to be every genre at once in a span of 3 minutes. And it was all over the place and had no direction. And it was trying to be funky at one point, and then trap, and then it was going to be dubstep, and there was a drum and bass line, and then new disco, and I was just like, what is happening for this song? And I would have loved if Maurice just stuck to something and just did it. And this song was, oh my gosh, it was all over the place. Just don't even bother with these tracks. Up next is The Prayer by Timmy Trumpet and KSHMR featuring Zafrir. I think that's how you say it. But this song goes from 0 to fast in the blink of an eye. It just suddenly is, it's just right in your face, and oh my gosh. This hardcore track is super intense and feels right at home in the Eurocore scene. The last 30 seconds of the song are easily the best, as it has more creativity and plays with more instrumentation, but other than that, the song is just above Don't Bother. Like, maybe if you really love this kind of style of fast-paced track, it might be up your alley, but I mean, for me, it's not that much. Up next is MEMBA's remix of Doom by Calivania, and I don't know if it was just because I was deep in the listening process when this song would come on, as I would, and with all these songs, I listen to them all back to back to back to back, so it's quite a long session. This song is just, I didn't feel anything really. I didn't feel it was fantastic. I didn't feel it was awful. It was kind of just there. It was the song that every time it came on, I mentally checked out. And I don't know if that was just the timing or if it was just the song. And I think it's a little bit of both, but that's why it's here. Up next is Far Away From Home by Feldt and VIZE featuring Leony. And this song is really short. I mean, it's just under 2.5 minutes, but also has this really weird 45-second almost interlude. It's not obviously an interlude. It's got its own mini chorus and verse. It's just, it doesn't feel like it's part of the song, and everything kind of just feels all over the place. But I mean, in general, it's kind of your classic Feldt vibes. If you love that kind of tropical house feel, you'll love this song. Also, the lyrics are sped up throughout the entire song, and I don't know why they didn't just have the vocalist Leony sing it faster, because it sounds really off when they speed it up the entire track. Up next is Dyro's Hella Dope. And this song actually made me laugh out loud when I listened to it. He uses supercalifragilistic and makes it pretty much the pre-vocal to the drop and says it's hella dope at the end, or hella dope-ish, or something like that. It's pretty funny, and it's a quick 2.5 minute track that works really well in a club mix or any DJ mix, but other than that, it's not a great track individually. Up next is Toby Romeo's remix of SICKO by Felix Jaehn featuring FAANGS and GASHI. It's a mouthful there, a lot of artists, and it's a remix. But this is pretty much your run-of-the-mill big room house track. This is the absolute neutral track for this week, so it's a 5 out of 5. It's, perfectly 50 out of 100 if you were to go even more, upscale it by a ton, but it's a pretty average track. Up next is Nirvana by dwilly and Brayden Burnette, and before we get into this track, just know that their last collaboration in Hands Down was a top 5 track of 2018 for me. I absolutely loved it. I think it was actually my number 2 played for that year, and that's really saying something. I listen to a lot of music, so I had a lot of high expectations and hopes going into the song, which is maybe why it's just here at neutral. It was pretty funky and fun, but it wasn't, I guess, didn't have the creativity that I was really hoping for with this song. Maybe it's because I wanted it to be a Hands Down 2.0 too much, and maybe maybe I was just skewing the song in the wrong direction, but it's neutral. Up next is You Were Good to Me, Shallow remix by Jeremih, Zucker, and Chelsea Cutler, and I really loved the original of this song. It was one of my favorites from the album, actually my number 1 favorite from his album, his debut album. But this remix sounded a lot like ODESZA, which I actually love ODESZA. They're my number 1 played artist of all time, actually, on Spotify at least. But this remix, I think, took the emotion that the original song was going for and kind of just pushed it to the side and didn't play with it as much. I think it works as its own individual song, but I think I was spoiled by listening to the original. And I think the original is just so much better. But, I mean, it's not bad. Up next is Tomorrow by Tiësto, featuring 433. And this is your classic Tiësto Big Room House. And it sounds like it could be a 2020 Big Room anthem song. There's nothing really creative or unique going on about this song, but, I mean, it's a big room banger. It's fun to listen to, especially in large gatherings. Which, I mean, we're not in right now. Up next is Cosette's Get On Wiw It. I know it's weird to say Wiw It, but that's how it's spelt. But this song is kind of weird. It was a weird dichotomy of funk and deep house. It didn't quite go full funk, and it also didn't quite go full deep house. And it was kind of this border middle line where it didn't really know what it wanted to do, but I think it actually kind of worked for me. And maybe I'm just a big Cosette fan, but this is not bad. Up next is Dr. Oz and Chime's Vengeance. I think the song is going to be loved by a lot of the hardcore dubstep and brostep heads. I think they're really, really going to enjoy this track. I think it's the most creative that I've seen or heard this week. And a lot of the song showed a ton of life in some small sections and small fragments and samples, and other times they just felt boring. So it's kind of where it is. This is the top of the neutral list, though. But we've got 2 tracks left, and they're both good listening tracks. So give these both a listen. Let me know what you think. Up first, and the second best song that came out this week, that I at least heard, is Yesteryear by Cosmo's Midnight. And Cosmo's Midnight, their production style is always feels like nectar for your ears. It's just always groovy the entire time. The vocals are crisp and clean, and it gives a sense of nostalgia throughout the entire track. Even though it's not super nostalgic, it feels like it. And this track is just, a pure example of that. Up next, and the best track for this week, is Rebound Sucks by Elènne. And I think this producer, Elènne, is super underrated. He has a lot of, I guess not even underrated, but underplayed. He only has about 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which is a lot for most people. But I think for the quality and production that he puts out, it's underplayed. His style is a lot more relaxed, laid back, and vibey, and it almost feels really calm. He's got a kind of joking demeanor with some of his tracks and titles, and especially his socials. But I would go check him out, check out his entire discography, but Rebound Sucks is the best track for this week. But I've been Bowtied Media. Leave a like if you like, subscribe if you hadn't. And, if you were like, hey, Bowtied, a new song came out this week, but you're not covering it, and it's EDM, and it's right up your alley, that's probably because I don't actually know they exist, or I'm not actually following them on Spotify. I'm using my release radar for that. So leave in comments below what artists you want to see me tackle, and I will see you guys in another video.